Welcome in to the Rockies Insider. I'm your Rockies Insider, Patrick Lyons, and we got to talk about Game 3, another victory for the Los Angeles Dodgers, who put away the Yankees 4-2 in Yankee Stadium in the Bronx on the Yankees' home turf. And the question remains right now, and we may get the answer on Tuesday night, are the Yankees going to win a game in the 2024 World Series? It sounds strange to say that. The best team in the American League, the team that led all of baseball in home runs, are they going to get completely shut out from winning a game this fall classic? And it's a legitimate question to ask as we are on the precipice of it. Dodgers take a 3-0 lead with a dominant 4-2 victory Monday night. One swing of the bat, in theory, could have gotten the job done at numerous times throughout this game, but the Dodgers simply had a stronghold for the duration of this game over the New York Yankees. The start to this game was probably the worst possible start that the Yankees could have had because it seemed as if they could just build a little bit of momentum, or rather prevent the Dodgers from getting some momentum. Then yes, they could win Game 3. I thought this was their game to win. I thought there would have been a lot of pressure on Walker Buehler to go deep. There are some chances that Dave Roberts might have been forced to stick with Buehler instead of going to the bullpen, even though he knew it might not have been the right call because he needed to get a little bit more length out of Buehler with Game 4 being that bullpen game. I thought there were so many things pointing in the Yankees' direction for why they should have been favorites going into Game 3, and yet it starts in the worst possible way. Clark Schmidt, not really competitive, 4 pitches, free base for Shohei Ohtani, who we saw in the pregame had the sling on his arm. He was even jogging back to the dugout at one point, just kind of holding his arm close to his body, trying to limit the movement of that shoulder. He was not a factor at the plate. We'll see what happens going forward. They're probably going to stick with him as he's still a better option than some of the other guys that are out there since it's not a serious issue. But you give up the free pass to start the first inning. You're able to get Mookie Betts, but then in a 1-2 count to Freddie Freeman, the Dodgers first baseman hammers home his third home run of this fall classic, third consecutive game in this series, fifth consecutive World Series game for Freddie Freeman. If you listen to the pregame show, you know that he also homered in Game 5 and Game 6 of the 2021 World Series against Houston when he was a member of Atlanta. He ties George Springer for most consecutive games with a home run in World Series history. Only traveled 355 feet, but it looked like it went away a long ways in Yankee Stadium with that short right field porch. Would have donged in 20 of the 30 stadiums. Would not have been a home run at Coors Field. Would not have been a home run at Dodger Stadium. It is what it is. Freeman becomes the third player to homer in the first 3 games of a World Series, joining Barry Bonds in 2002 and Hank Bauer, New York Yankee great, in 1958. Top of the third, Clark Schmidt didn't do himself any favors again. He walks Edman to lead off that inning, 4 pitches. Ohtani does a nice job hitting a ground ball to allow Edman to advance. He was stealing on the play. Nevertheless, hit and run. Boom, Betts with a great 9-pitch at bat. Fouls off 3 pitches with 2 strikes. Hits one to shallow right. And the Dodgers get on the board once again for the second time in 3 innings. They take a 3-0 lead, and that was a majority of the game at that point. Schmidt would not finish that inning, and the leadoff walks to the first and third man ended up coming back to bite them. Later on in the game, Gavin Lux got hit by a pitch. He advanced on a wild pitch, and then he ended up scoring on a base hit. But the Yankees failed to respond each time that the Dodgers scored a run, and each time they had an opportunity to. In the first inning, Gleyber Torres draws a 6-pitch walk. Soto flies out. Judge ends up striking out on a full count cutter that he just chases outside of the zone. 20th strikeout in 41 at-bats for Aaron Judge. It sort of sounded like fans were holding back their boos. like they were just grumbling at this, disappointing performance there in the first inning after the Dodgers had already gone up 2-0. And it really just felt like at that point, regardless of how passionate the fans were, and they definitely seemed to be toned down a click or two after the start of the game because they were down 2-0 against a dominant Los Angeles Dodgers team that, well, we're here. We're going to root for our guys, but boy, oh boy, we are lacking a certain amount of confidence. I feel like you could hear that all night throughout the stadium. And then the game, to me, it really felt like it came down to the sixth inning. Aaron Judge, his third at bat. Buehler's out of the game at that point. Now, Soto had reached on a 1-out walk to bring Judge to the plate, and Judge hit one somewhat weakly back to second base, 74.2 miles an hour. Brusdar Graterol throws it a little bit high. Could have been an inning-ending double play. Had that been the case, I absolutely think the boos would have rained down upon Aaron Judge. Jonathan in the pregame podcast, saying in the chat, do I think that Judge is going to get booed tonight? I thought there was a decent chance that it was going to happen, as I just wasn't confident that Judge was going to break out. He seems due, but it's not happening for him. He hit one off the end of the bat that at first glance I couldn't tell, and he lifted it in the air, and for a second I thought, he's done it. He's done it, and it was a lazy fly ball to left field, can of corn almost. Hit it just off the end of the bat. And Judge is now just struggling. It really seems like batting 140 this postseason. He's now 1 for 12 in the World Series. Judge is 1 for 12 in the 2024 World Series. Seems like the only person that's been more invisible in the 2024 Fall Classic is the Marlins man. Haven't seen him. Haven't seen Aaron Judge show up either. Bottom of the seventh, another opportunity, first and second with 2 out. Torres up. Anthony Banda, fresh from the bullpen. Torres strikes out looking, peered out of the zone by a good amount on game day, and Torres took it with him a little bit out to the field. You saw him grumbling. Is what it is. The defense, not particularly crisp for the Yankees. Volpe ended up bailing out Jazz, who made an error on a ground ball by Freddie Freeman. Volpe doing a nice job on the inning-ending double play. Bottom of the seventh, 2 on, 2 out. Vesia replaces Graterol to face Jazz. This is a guy that recorded a 1-pitch save on Saturday night in Game 2, is now being used in the 7th inning to get the 18th out of the game. So Dave Roberts is pushing all the right buttons here in this series. And then in the bottom of the 8th, again, another chance. I didn't have a ton of confidence that anything was going to change, but you did have Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton due up against Ryan Brazier. And although Judge draws a walk, nothing happened. Brazier strikes out Stanton, strikes out Jazz Chisholm. Yankees do get 2 runs in the 9th. Rizzo drawing the 1-out walk. He advances to second on a wild pitch by Michael Kopech. Verdugo homers to right field, 373 feet. I think that would have only homered in 4 ballparks, believe it or not. And Dodgers are up 3-0 with a bullpen day on Tuesday. Yankees, again, another must win. I was talking about this game with good buddy Derek Montilla of PHNX Diamondbacks. You can go and listen to that conversation fresh off of Game 3. And it came up that, hey, the Dodgers are up 3-0. And across from them in the dugout are the Yankees, who are the only team in baseball history to know what it's like to squander a 3-0 lead. Boston Red Sox, 2004 ALCS. Red Sox got it done, went on to win the World Series that year. But they lost a 3-0 lead. They were even up in the 9th inning. But Sure, that's the other dugout. That's the Yankees as an organization that knows that. Aaron Boone knows that. Derek Jeter, I imagine, can talk to the players and say, let me tell you what that was like. Let me tell you how awful that was for that to happen on my watch. As much as that's going through the Yankees' heads right now, that, hey, we can come back and we can do this. We've seen it. It's happening in this building partially. The guy that started that rally for the Boston Red Sox in Game 4, he stole second base to tie that ball game, to force extras, to allow the Red Sox to win Game 4. The guy who came in as a pinch runner to steal second base, a meaningless steal that ended up being the most meaningful steal in ALCS history, he's the manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers, Dave Roberts. If anybody is equipped to make sure his team does not squander a 3-0 lead, it's Dave Roberts of the Los Angeles Dodgers. There's no way that's going to happen. No way. Walker Buehler, look, he was great. He was great in Game 3 after being so-so for the entirety of this season. His ERA on the road was just under 7, believe it or not, this year. And yet, 5 scoreless frames. He's got himself a no-hitter going into the 4th inning. Does a nice job in the 1st inning. He walked around a leadoff walk, struck out Judge. In the 2nd, got Volpe and Rizzo to strike out. Started the 3rd with a strikeout of Jose Trevino and Alex Verdugo. Ends up walking Gleyber Torres to end the streak, but gets Soto to hit a weak grounder over to first base. The 4th inning, that was the one where Judge, it seemed like maybe he had gotten all of it off the end of the bat. Stanton doubled. Betts made a great grab to rob a single from Jazz. And on the Volpe single to left field, Teoscar Hernandez unleashes one hop to nab Stanton at home. 2nd one of the inning, because in the top of the 4th, you also had that play of the plate with Gavin Lux also getting thrown out. So we had 2 plays at the plate. First time in World Series history? Maybe. But neither of them have enough evidence to overturn it. Umps got the call right. But Buehler, I thought, really was the story for giving the Dodgers not just a chance to win, but he held down the 3-0 lead, 2-0 lead after 1, 3-0 lead after the top of the 3rd, and gave a little bit of length. Only 5. That's all you really need right now. And for the Dodgers to go out for that bullpen game in Game 4 to get 5 out of Buehler was huge. He's now the only Dodger starter to throw at least 5 shutout innings while allowing 2 or fewer hits in the World Series. He did that back in 2018 in Game 3, 7 shutout innings, in which he also allowed 2 hits against the Boston Red Sox. Buehler's now just the 4th pitcher in 2 career World Series games of at least 5 shutout innings while giving up 2 or fewer hits. Madison Bumgarner did that. Warren Spahn, Hall of Famer, and George Earnshaw. Bumgarner and Spahn did that with 2 relief outings. So Buehler in rare company for that. And he now has a 0.50 ERA in 18 innings pitched in the World Series. 1 earned run allowed. That makes him a dude. Despite what you see in the regular season as his stat line, and despite some of the injury concerns, it's players like that that wins championships. So many of the different, I don't even want to say rabbit holes, but just the research you do. Let me pull this guy's page up. Let me look at this person's resume. And there's always a constant through line. The players that are successful early on in their career, they continue to be successful postseason players, and they continue to win later on in their career. They've got that je ne sais quoi. They've got that little extra thing that wins championships. Walker Buehler is one of those players. Al Leiter was one of those players. His nephew pitched in this game, Mark Leiter Jr. And I thought, oh, like father, like son? No, Mark Leiter never pitched in the majors. They're all from Toms River, New Jersey, just like Todd Frazier, just like me. But father and nephew, Mark Leiter Jr. pitches in the World Series at Yankee Stadium. Well, Al Leiter did that in the year 2000. Also won a World Series in 1997 with the Marlins. He was also on that 1993 Toronto Blue Jays team. So has 2 World Series rings. Josh Beckett threw a shutout in Game 6 of the 2003 World Series to close out the Yankees. That was the last time the Yankees lost the World Series, was 2003. Josh Beckett got it done. You heard a lot more from Josh Beckett later on when he went over to the Boston Red Sox. He continued to win at a very high rate. Walker Buehler is one of those players. He is a difference maker. He's going to get paid fairly in free agency. It's not going to break the bank for anybody, but he is going to be a player that successful teams want to be a part of their franchise. What else from this game? Well, I told you about Freeman's 2-run home run. RBI single in the 3rd by Betts to score Edman. You had an RBI single by Kike Hernandez in the 6th that scored Lux. As I said, reached on the hit by pitch, moving to scoring position on a wild pitch. And in the biggest must-win game for the Yankees in 15 years, Yankees have not had a game at Yankee Stadium since 2009. Over 5,000 days. I don't know if 15 years sounds more than 5,473 days. But nevertheless, that's how long it's been since the Yankees hosted a game, a World Series game, in their very own building. You could say Game 2 was somewhat of a must-win in the 2009 World Series. They were down 1-0 to Philly. You lose that, Phillies just need to win 2 of the next 5 games, and the next 3 games are going to be in Philadelphia. I think it was probably even more critical, Game 6, elimination game, of course, 2003 against the Marlins, where Josh Beckett threw that shutout in New York. And now the Yankees, they had only scored 5 runs for a duration of these 3 games, but the 2 runs give them 7. Feel a little bit better that you went out on a on a medium note. Certainly wasn't a high note, but only 7 runs scored for the team with the most homers in baseball, 237. Team with the second highest OPS plus. The team that was a league average as far as strikeouts, so they weren't particularly good at avoiding Ks, but they were tops in terms of walks. Only problem is you're against the Dodgers that knows the value to not give a free pass. You just can't give up first base for free. Let them put it in play, especially when you've got a strong defense like the Dodgers do. And we've seen it this entire series. That was a difference in the series, just like the bullpen was a difference, just like the depth in the lineups were a difference. I thought the Yankees had the better rotation. The fact that they had 4 starters versus 3, and I did think that their starters might have fared a little bit better. You didn't know what to expect out of Yamamoto, who kept talking like, hey, I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to do the best I can, almost sounding as if he was running on fumes here at the end of the season. So I would have even give an edge to the Yankees' top 3 starters over the Dodgers' top 3 starters. But the difference in all those other categories, I could not have possibly guessed it would have been that much more than what the Yankees have been providing. Ohtani walked in that first at-bat. Didn't really have to run after Freeman's homer. That helped. He did a nice job putting the ball in play, keeping it on the ground to allow Edman to advance to second base in that 3rd inning. He did strike out against Nestor Cortez. We'll see what happens if he's able to go in Game 4. I imagine he will. I imagine he's able to go about his business even at the 80th percentile and be cautious to not injure himself. You're probably not going to see him steal another base. You say that, and then he does it. But you're probably not. He's really just going to have to make sure that he slides now on his right shoulder rather than his left, which he typically does, but a lot has to go right for the Yankees going forward here if they are going to win this World Series. They're going to have to win out. We've never seen that happen before in the Fall Classic. We've not. Pre-game business, let's go back on it. Well, Ohtani got booed by Yankees fans. Okay. Was listening for that. Look, he's an opposing player. Sure. That's fine. I kind of found it interesting that Mookie, the boos were louder for Mookie Betts, former Red Sox. They were about the same level for Freddie Freeman. He's been killing your team. Freddie's been haunting the dreams, causing nightmares to Yankees fans this entire week. Even more so than Freddie Krueger, you could say. And yes, believe it or not, I looked this up. Freddie Krueger's full name is Frederick Charles Krueger. Freddie Freeman's full name, Frederick Charles Freeman. Coincidence? Probably. But nevertheless, frightening stuff if you're a Yankee fan when you see Freddie Freeman come to the plate. He's been incredible. Absolutely incredible. First pitch strike from Derek Jeter. Love that they use the voice of God, Bob Shepard. Number 2, Derek Jeter. Number 2. Class right there. Thought that was great. Fat Joe didn't care for that. Got to give the Dodgers the edge as far as Ice Cube. I would have preferred maybe Method Man and Jim Leyritz. Give me 50 Cent and Hideki Matsui. If we're looking at a first pitch, first bars combination, how about Nas and CC Sabathia? I'll take these things. Nicki Minaj and Nick Swisher? Okay, I'm out. But we can all agree that P. Diddy and John Wetland would have been the worst. Can't have that happen. We saw Tommy Kahnle finally throw a fastball after 61 consecutive changeups. Good for him. But this series, the ratings are still going to be good for Game 3. Could be a little bit better. Game 2, Monday Night Football. NBA and the NHL are still starting out their seasons, as they are every World Series. I don't really think that's much of a factor. And yeah, the starting pitching matchup is not much. Luis Hill versus question mark. I don't think that's what's bringing the audiences to the TV, at least the casuals, right? The casual sports fan or the casual pop culture fan. They're trying to do a good job of showing all the celebrities that are at the ballpark. They didn't show – Pat Sajak was there behind home plate, and so was Lorne Michaels and Jimmy Fallon, but they didn't actually show them on the Fox broadcast. Nevertheless, there's going to still be tons of people watching. If this ends up going 6 games, cool, great. If it can go back to LA, but I think we all know that unless the next 2 games just look drastically different, and even a drastically different Game 4 for the Yankees is not going to move the needle for me. Probably not for anybody else. There's almost nothing that can happen in Game 4 that's going to make anyone say, well, hold on a minute. Game 5 is where you say, hold on a minute. Game 4 is a bullpen game, so there's going to be somebody that possibly gets stuck out there. Probably because you don't want to have a position player pitch. We've never had that happen in the World Series, or have we? Might need to look that up. But you don't want a position player pitch, so there could just be somebody out there. Look, you've got the final 6 outs. I've already given up 3 runs in an inning. Cool. You get in the final 6 outs. So it won't matter if the Yankees win 17-3 on Tuesday. Doesn't matter. Win Game 5, and then we can talk. Win Game 5, and then you've got something. Beat Jack Flaherty before you go back to LA. And then all you got to do is win Game 6. After that, crapshoot in Game 7. Sounds easy. I'm sure that's what the Red Sox were saying in 2004 to make it sound easy when they were able to go and win that Game 4 late. Very late. Yankees right now, look, they got a clean slate. They've got a clean slate. The homie, Jack Vita. Appreciate you. I'm not the GOAT. Look, you're the GOAT. You got the interviews coming up. Who are you going to interview this spring training that's going to break some big news? You're laughing. You're smiling right now. I know you are. Hey, if you like The Survivor, if you're into the Survivor series, check out my homie Jack Vita's channel. He's doing fun stuff. He's doing big things. Shameless plug. I know you didn't want you weren't here for that, but still, Giving you some love, Jack. Appreciate you. And I appreciate everybody sticking around. And I appreciate you if you're sticking around to watch the World Series, because you should. You absolutely should continue to watch this year's World Series because it's history. It's still history in the making. Will Freddie Freeman homer in all 4 games or in every game? Can he do that? Will Aaron Judge get booed in his own ballpark during the World Series? Possible. Will Juan Soto go out on top, at least as an individual player, as he goes into free agency, where the Los Angeles Dodgers apparently are going to be knocking? They're going to be blowing up Scott Boras' cell phone. Still tons of storylines in Game 4. Make sure you're watching it. I know you will. You'll be watching me, my next show, and I do appreciate that momentum. We're going to keep the love. We're going to keep the momentum going over on the social medias at Patrick D. Lyons, at Patrick D. Lyons MLB, and at Rockies_Insider. Make sure you're checking out the podcast, liking and subscribing, leaving a review. That has a lot of weight. I would appreciate if you could do that. And go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channels. I'm still cranking out videos just about every day, as much as I can. Appreciate that. Appreciate the love. Appreciate the momentum. But as I like to say, that momentum, it's only as good as my next show. So I'll talk to you then.